Alright, hey, what's going on, people? YouTube's Masculinish here. Welcome to another video. So, I've been hearing a lot of, not so much hate on GameStop and Ebgames as it is known around the world, the different names. You know, you got GameStop and Ebgames. In Canada, we do have GameStops and Ebgames, respectively. But yeah, so I've been hearing a lot of like negative things about the GameStop and Ebgames scene, and I just wanted to share one of my stories that I can fondly remember from GameStop. Now, this story doesn't have anything really directly to do with the associates at these stores, but it's a good story nonetheless. So basically, it starts basically back, I want to say 2004 area. So maybe before that, whenever Resident Evil 4 came out on the PS2. So I probably, I want to say around 2003, 2004. The stores in Canada then were actually just Ebgames. They weren't GameStop, because GameStop didn't acquire Ebgames until so many years afterwards. But anyway, so I went down to my local Ebgames, and I was gonna pick up Resident Evil 4. You know, I had my $55, and I was only probably about 14 or 15 at that time, and well, maybe older than that, but around that age, 14, 16, somewhere around there. And so, of course, you know, I wasn't able to buy Resident Evil 4 because I was underage, and in Canada, the rating system is M for, you know, Resident Evil 4, so it was 17 plus. And, of course, how am I supposed to buy something like that? So, my brother-in-law, well, he's my brother-in-law now, but he wasn't my brother-in-law back then. He was just dating my sister back then, and now they're married, and yada yada. That whole thing happened. So he decided that he was going to be the cool, sister boyfriend person and come along with me and, help me purchase Resident Evil 4. So we get into the store, and I'm looking around at the walls, and, I'm having a good time, figuring out what's coming out in a couple of months and stuff like that. And then I see, make a beeline to Resident Evil 4, pick it off the shelf, and, I'm still walking around the store. And then I guess my brother-in-law went off randomly talking to some people at the counter and whatever like that. Turns out that this guy and his wife, they were trying to sell some PlayStation 2 games and stuff like that, and they didn't have the correct identification, like a photo ID to use, because in Canada we have health cards is what they're called. So it's basically a green card with your picture on it and your birth year and yada yada yada. So Ebgames doesn't take that as like government issue ID. We can't actually use that card at all for photo ID. Like, it's not valid ID for, buying cigarettes or alcohol or anything like that in Canada. So of course, Ebgames being Ebgames, they follow suit, and they weren't allowed to use the health card for valid ID. So this is where my brother-in-law was listening, and, he goes over and he says, hey, you're having a problem buying your games or selling your games. And the guy goes, yeah, health card, they won't take it as valid ID, yada, yada, yada. So my brother-in-law, he goes, the nice as he is, he's like, well, I'll tell you what. I'll go ahead and sell these games for you. So you don't have no problem. You don't have to go all the way back home and come all the way back and stuff like that. So they were really appreciative of my brother-in-law doing that. So as he was filling out, some paperwork and stuff like that, my brother-in-law, that is, filling out some paperwork, I went over to see what was going on, and I started talking to the guy who was very happy with my brother-in-law, giving him a hand to sell his games and stuff like that. So we got into talking about video games and all that jazz, and he asked me, well, why am I here? And I told him, I said, well, I'm going to be buying Resident Evil 4 for the PlayStation 2. And this is the interesting part. He goes, wow, I'm actually selling a copy of Resident Evil 4. So I guess, we talked about it a little more, and I told him that I was a huge fan of Resident Evil 4, and he said, he was playing Resident Evil 4 as the first Resident Evil game he ever played. He didn't really like it. He got stuck at a couple of parts and stuff like that, so that's why he was selling his copy. So, I was like, oh, that's cool. Maybe I'll buy your copy, whatever. And he's like, here, I'll do you one better. Since your brother-in-law is so nice, he's like, yeah, so since your brother-in-law is so nice, why don't you just go ahead and take my copy of Resident Evil 4 and, you could consider that payment for your brother-in-law helping me out. And that made me ecstatic because that was probably the best experience I've ever had at a GameStop, and it was extremely, extremely happy. I was like filled with joy. I didn't have to spend any of my own money. So what I did is I took that money that I had, and I went around and bought another controller. And me and my brother-in-law, we went home. I bought another controller and another game. I think I bought Gran Turismo 3. I think that's what I bought. So me and my brother-in-law went home. I bought another controller. Me and my brother-in-law, we sit down and we play Gran Turismo for a couple hours. And I was also able then to play with my niece and my nephew. Actually, at the time, I think it was just my two nieces, my two nephews. Sorry. So it was great. Just because somebody did something nice for somebody else, my brother-in-law, I gained something out of that, and that was at a GameStop, so, like, I've never met anybody, like, terrible in a GameStop before. Like, I always had great conversations with people and all that stuff like that. I do have a couple of other stories to share with you guys over the next little while about my GameStop experiences and my encounters and stuff like that. So if you do want to hear some more stories, please make sure you hit the big red subscribe button and comment below and like this video. And the gameplay that you are watching, if you're not wondering, is Grand Theft Auto 5. Of course, everybody knows Grand Theft Auto 5. If you don't know Grand Theft Auto 5, Google it. But anyway, so that's the story, the quick little story I wanted to share with you. Holy crap. Ooh. So yeah, that's just a quick little video I wanted to share with you today, a story about my GameStop encounter. And I'm going to be ever grateful for, this guy being so nice because he was receiving something so nice back from my brother-in-law, and my brother-in-law for not being a jackass and just, like, taking the game and selling it to me. He could have did that, but I knew he wasn't going to anyway. He tried to do that at first. He's like, oh, well, give me $20 and I'll give you the game. And then he's like, no, I'm just messing with you, man. Here you go. But anyway, thank you guys so much for checking out this video. As always, I'm asking you, if you want to continue watching some of my videos, links to those are down in the description. Or you can click on the annotations that'll appear at the end of this video. Or if you're on mobile, don't forget to click the card, and you will be able to find some more of my videos there. So thank you guys so much for checking out this video. I really hope you enjoyed this quick little story. And as always, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.